Hey, you guys. Hello. Come on in. Welcome back to Just Be Speaks. Today we'll be talking about how to hear God's voice. Yes, how to hear God's voice. You have a lot of people who struggle with not knowing how to take direction from God because they don't know how to hear when He is talking to them and giving them messages to carry them along their path. It's a lot of people who do not know how to hear God's voice. I was having a conversation with an older family member some time back where the topic was knowing how to hear when God speaks to you, or knowing how to internally communicate with God, that topic. And this older family member told me that they have never heard God's voice before. And in that moment, I realized exactly why that particular family member may have been struggling in life the way they were, just due to them choosing not to hear God's voice. Because God always speaks. God always speaks. But it's up to us to do the work to know how to determine which voice internally is God's voice and what is not. Now, I know you're like, okay, how many voices are there that could be talking to you inside your head? That's on you. I don't know how many voices can be talking to you inside your head. I don't know. I don't know how many voices you hear in your head. But to the average normal human being, you have your intuition, which is God's voice. And then you have your conscience, which is your fear that will talk you out of your intuition or your God's voice. So you'll hear what God is telling you to do. You intuitively hear communication from God. Your voice, your conscience, your conscience is the negative side of your own self-talk, your own voice. Your conscience, your negative self-talk comes from your conscience. And that fear will talk you out of your intuition, will talk you out of your God's voice. Those are the voices. You have your intuition, which is God's voice, and you have your conscience, which is your negative self-talk, your fear. Next, we have, what does God's voice sound like? What does God's voice sound like? Well, in my studies and my research in the past, I've heard, and for me personally, I've heard God's voice sounds like your voice, or a voice that you trust the most. So my God voice sounds like me. It's my tone. It's like me talking to myself. A lot of the times, how you will identify with God's voice, you're going to be doing a whole lot of constant, consistent communication with your higher self. Your higher self is your God voice, is the God piece of you, the higher vibrating side to you. That is your God's voice. That is how you will know how to determine God speaking to you versus your fear talking to you. When God is speaking to you, what types of messages is He trying to get through to you? More than likely, God is always talking to you from the higher portions of yourself, from the future part of you, from the future version of yourself. So the visions and things that He is sending you, the downloads God is sending you, is going to look completely opposite from where you currently are in your reality. These certain things and downloads that He is sending to you are things that you always saw yourself doing, but in a dream, like these things are dreams. But God is trying to tell you that this can be your reality if you just listen to Him and follow the steps that He is laying out before you to follow. How this becomes so hard is because the steps are big, the steps are scary, and it's completely different from what you're doing in your reality now. It's going to cause you to maybe be laughed at or ridiculed by your peers, which if they truly your friends and true associates and true good people in your life, they won't do that. But how society is set up, your conscience will make you think that that is what is going to happen when you decide to step out on faith and follow that vision that God is putting in your head for you to follow. Next, God's voice is going to wear you out until you decide to start moving in the direction that he is telling you to go in. And with him wearing you out, you won't have any peace. You'll always feel like you're moving wrong. You'll always feel like you're doing the wrong thing, or you're not doing enough, or you have to do more when you're not doing what he told you to do. When you heard him, he knows you heard him, and you internally accepted the challenge, but you're not moving in it, he gonna wear you out. No peace. You're gonna have no peace until you start moving in the order and the direction that he is instructing you to. We move into the how. How can you position yourself to hear God's voice clearly? Now, in order to be able to hear God's voice clearly, one must get rid of every negative thing clouding up your heart space. You have to clear out your heart space from any negative entities, such as comparison, jealousy, greed, guilt, shame, envy. All of those low vibrational things put a big gap in between you and God, and you being able to hear his voice and know the direction that he's trying to get you to move in. All right, so you have to clear your heart space of all of that junk so that God can be able to speak to you clearly. It holds, you internalize it, and then act on it. So the more you clear out the heart space, the more God can fill it up with his vision for your life. A way to assure that this truly happens and to lock in how healed you are after you have done these steps, while you're doing these steps, during the process of you clearing out your heart space and doing the work, an easier way to hear God's voice clearly and to make this move a little quicker is to fast. Fast from TV watching. It's a lot of good shows out right now. I know, because I be watching them too. But when are you going to delegate your time between God's time and your own time and moving in a direction that he wants you to move in to get to that luxurious, soft life that you would like to have? Or are you going to take it now and use it all up now, and then you'll still have to do the work later? So it's better to get a move on it now while it's hot. Vision is moving on the inside of you, and while God is giving you the vision, it's better to move on it sooner than later. Okay? So fasting, TV shows, smoking, drinking, sex, anything of a distraction, you gotta kill it out. Put a pause on it. Take a break. You gotta get it out of the way so you can be able to loudly, clearly hear God's voice. So you can be able to clearly hear God's voice and know which direction he's trying to get you to move in. A true, open, teachable, coachable heart comes after actually doing the internal work of clearing out your heart space. That's it. It's really simple. Saying it true is easier said than done. True, but it's not that much that goes into the steps of saying it. But it's depending on the depth of your cluttered heart will determine how much work you got to do. But this is it. This is how to hear God's voice clearly. All right? Clearing out that heart space and fasting. That's what I got for you. That's what I got for you. So a recap. Doing the internal work is going to get you that clear heart space so that God can be able to pour his messages into you. How? Clearing your heart space of all clutter, negative clutter, fasting, and actually doing the internal work. That is how you're going to get closer to God. That is how you are going to hear his voice. Thank you. This has been Just Be Speaks. Again, your message for today was how to clearly hear God's voice and the steps that need to be taken in order to do so. All right, until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.